Are you excited? Are you excited? Because I'm excited. Do you know why I'm excited? I'm going to give you 3 seconds to guess why I'm excited. 3, 2, 1. No? No guesses? You don't know why? It's because it's NBA playoff time, man. Come on. NBA playoff time is my favorite time of the year, and I want to go ahead and kick it off with some playoff predictions and analysis for the upcoming 2022 NBA playoffs. So with that being said, go ahead and drop a like, comment, subscribe before the video starts. Do whatever you guys got to do to show your support. Kick back, grab some popcorn. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's going to be a good one. So the NBA play-in tournament is currently already underway. And I don't know about a lot of people, but for me personally, I think the NBA play-in tournament is a great and fun concept. I mean, it gives fans the feel and the excitement of the NBA playoffs before the NBA playoffs actually starts. And for teams participating in the NBA play-in tournament, it's basically the playoffs because, I mean, it's win or go home. And by the time this video goes up, the first 2 games of the NBA play-in tournament will have already been played, but I'm gonna still go ahead and talk about them anyway, just briefly. So for our first play-in game, we had the Cavs at the Nets. And it was a great first game. I think it definitely set the tone for the play-in tournament. So the Nets ended up winning 115-108. Nets held the edge for most of the game, but the Cavs started to battle back towards the end of the game. They just ultimately couldn't come away with the dub. And no disrespect to the Cavs or anything. The Cavs are a great team. I think they have one of the top 5 ranked defenses in the league in terms of points allowed. But personally, I just knew the Nets was going to pull this one out. I mean, honestly, Nets are like the scariest underdog team in the NBA playoffs. And when I say underdog team, I really don't even mean underdog team. I don't think the Nets are a true underdog team because they have Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I just think the season didn't really go their way. Kevin Durant was injured. Kyrie couldn't play home games for most of the season. But towards the end of the season, Kyrie was going crazy. And they're taking that momentum into the playoffs. And now by winning Tuesday night's game, they now have the number 7 seed. And they have the privilege of facing the number 2 seed Boston Celtics in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And I honestly think this might be the best first round matchup of this year's playoffs. You got the Boston Celtics, who have been hitting on all cylinders as of late. They started very poorly. They struggled a considerable amount at the first half of the season, but they starting to find their stride, and they climbed about 3 to 4 spots to get that number 2 seed. And on the other hand, you got the Brooklyn Nets, who have the most skilled ISO scorer in the game, best handles in the game, Kyrie Irving, and the most skilled 3-level scorer in the game, Kevin Durant. And I don't even want to make no predictions for this one right now, but I think that the Brooklyn Nets might actually upset the Boston Celtics. But that is not a final prediction, so do not hold me to that, okay? Please. And as for the Cavs, their playoff hopes are still very much alive, but they have to await the winner of the Hornets and the Hawks game, and they will play whoever wins that game to determine who gets the 8th seed. Moving on to the Clippers at the Timberwolves. This was also a great game, very close, very contested throughout the entire game, but the Timberwolves actually ended up going ahead and pulling it out 109-104. And them boys was acting like they just won the championship over there. Look at them. Ooh-wee, them boys was acting like they just won the ship, man. They was celebrating. But I mean, the Timberwolves franchise hasn't had much to celebrate about. This is their first time making a playoff since 2018. And before that, they actually had a longer playoff drought with their last playoff appearance coming in 2004, where they made the Western Conference Finals. And it marks the only time that the Timberwolves ever won a playoff series. So hey, hopefully this is a sign that times are changing over there in Minnesota. And now, just like the Cavs, the Clippers now have to await the winner of the Spurs and Pelicans game. Whoever wins that game will go face the Clippers. Whoever wins that game will then determine the 8th seed in the West. So moving on to, it is 7 o'clock. Hawks game is on. I'm gonna go ahead and tune into that right quick. I'll be right back. Right back.
Defeated when you give me the password, so go on, give it to me. Thank you. So
with the play-in tournament wrapping up and teams fighting for the 8th seed in both the East and the West, let's go ahead and talk about some of the set matchups for the 2022 NBA playoffs. For our first playoff matchup in the East, we had the Boston Celtics, the number 2 seed, against the number 7 seeded Brooklyn Nets. And like I said prior, this might be the best playoff series of the first round. I mean, you have 2 of the hottest teams in the league, especially in the East, going up against each other in the first round, with Boston 7-3 in their last 10 and Brooklyn on a 4-game winning streak. And like I said before, the Brooklyn Nets aren't really playing like a true 7 seed. They honestly might be the most catfish 7 seed in the history of the playoffs. And I think what's going to be so interesting about this matchup is that both of these teams have a duo running the show on offense. Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and the Brooklyn Nets with KD and Kyrie. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how both of these teams prepare for each other defensively. And honestly, if I'm one of these teams preparing for the other team, I'm going in trying to stop one of the duo from having a big night. So let's say the Brooklyn Nets game plan were to go out and stop Jason Tatum from having a big night. That would mean they're forcing Jaylen Brown, one man, to beat them. And if they're able to do that on a consistent basis throughout the series, I strongly think the Brooklyn Nets have the strongest chance at winning the series. And it's vice versa for the Boston Celtics. If they're able to go out and stop Kevin Durant or Kyrie from having a big night and do it on a consistent basis, they should be able to win the series. And by doing this, it's taking out one of the other team's best offensive options. And it's going to be very hard for that team to find momentum and establish a rhythm on offense when one of their top go-to scoring threats is taken out by the defense. And even though in the regular season the Celtics beat the Brooklyn Nets 3 games out of 4, they only played the Brooklyn Nets with both KD and Kyrie one time out of those 4. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the Celtics are going to respond to both KD and Kyrie being on the floor at the same time. So with that being said, I got the Brooklyn Nets winning it 4-2. I think it's going to go to a game 6, maybe even a game 7, but I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to go ahead and wrap it up in 6. And there is a good possibility that Robert Williams, the Celtics' best defender this year, is going to come back for the first round of the playoffs. But with him being back, I still think that the Brooklyn Nets are going to take it. So for our first matchup in the West, we have the 2nd-seeded Memphis Grizzlies against the 7th-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. And even though these teams' seedings differ substantially, I feel like it's a lot in common with both of these teams. Number one, they both have fairly young teams. I mean, both of these teams have really young players that come in and are so exciting to watch. And number two, neither of these teams really have had success in the playoffs when it comes to recent years. Memphis Grizzlies have definitely had more success than the Minnesota Timberwolves, but they still haven't had that much success when it comes to winning in the playoffs. So with that being said, both of these teams are definitely coming in with something to prove. And that alone, I feel like, could make for a really good series. Because I mean, both of these teams are the best they've been in a very long time. And this is especially the case for the Memphis Grizzlies, considering the fact that they're 20-4 without their star young player, Ja Morant. And if they're playing that well without their best player, that honestly is just a testament to their team chemistry. And I think that honestly tells me all I need to know about who has the best chance at winning this series. And during the regular season, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves both split their games at 2 apiece. So it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be able to come away with the advantage in this season's playoffs. So with that being said, I got the Memphis Grizzlies winning in 5 games, 4-1 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. So going back to the East now, we have the 3rd-seeded Bucks versus the 6th-seeded Bulls. And for the Bulls, they've had a very disappointing second half of the season. It was really surrounded by injuries by Alonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, but considering they started the season so strong and held the #1 seed in the East for half the season, it was a very disappointing second half. And dropping to the number 6 seed in the playoffs, they now have to start the playoffs on the road against the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. And in the regular season, the Bucks actually came out on top with this season series 2-1. And the Bucks have been playing very well as of late, winning 7 of their 9 games in May, and they're currently on a 6-game winning streak at home. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Chicago Bulls are going to go in Milwaukee and at least try to get out with a split. And I think getting out with the split in Milwaukee is going to be very hard for Chicago, considering Milwaukee has one of the better offenses in the league. I mean, with Giannis being able to score at will and they also being able to spread the floor with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, it's going to be very hard to stop that offense. And for that reason, I honestly think that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to wrap it up in 5 games and win 4-1. So moving back to the West, we got the 3rd-seeded Golden State Warriors against the 6th-seeded Denver Nuggets. And for the Warriors, Steph Curry has been injured. He has not played since March 16th, but signs are looking good that he will be able to play for this first round matchup. He has been participating in practice this week. And personally, I feel like that's a determining factor in who wins this series. Because if Steph Curry plays, I find it very hard that the Nuggets will be able to keep up with the pace of the Golden State Warriors offense. Because on offense for the Nuggets, they don't really have what it takes to keep up if the game ends up turning into a shootout. And with Golden State being ranked top 5 in defense in terms of points allowed, it's a very good chance that they'll be able to contain Jokic, forcing somebody else to beat them. And I mean, for the Nuggets, Jokic pretty much runs that offense. And if they're not going to be able to rely on Jokic to score and facilitate, they're going to have a very hard time at winning a game in this series. But interesting enough, the Nuggets won 3 out of their 4 games in the regular season series with Golden State. So they may actually have what it takes to find a way to slow down this Golden State offense. But with that being said, my personal prediction, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to sweep. This is going to be probably the first and only sweep in the first round. So back in the East, now we have the 4th seeded Philadelphia 76ers against the 5th seeded Toronto Raptors. And I think this is going to be a great series as well. There hasn't been a lot of buzz about the Toronto Raptors as of late, but I think this team is pretty legit. With the tandem of Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet and the scoring efforts of Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, and rookie Scotty Barnes, this team has some real promise. And honestly, I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to get it done with the departure of Kyle Lowry. But I feel like with Kyle Lowry leaving, it really helped the Toronto Raptors find themselves a little more, and each player pretty much understood their role with the team and understood what they had to do to get back to the playoffs. And I feel like this is especially the case for guard Fred VanVleet, because honestly, I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get it done as the Raptors' primary ball handler after Kyle Lowry's departure. But this year, he's been able to step up and make some big plays, some crucial plays for the Raptors. But on the other side, the Philadelphia 76ers have a really good team as well. I feel like they're honestly the second catfish team in this year's playoffs. I mean, they did finish in a 3-way tie with 3rd seeded Milwaukee and 2nd seeded Brooklyn. So that tells you right there, they could easily be the 3rd or 2nd seed. I mean, they have Joel Embiid, MVP frontrunner, who can literally score from anywhere on the court. Of course, they have James Harden, who has struggled this season a little bit, but he's still a very skilled scorer. They have Tyrese Maxey, who had an outstanding breakout year this year, and Tobias Harris, who has been so consistent for the Sixers year in and year out. And their defense is just chef's kiss. They're top 10 in defense, only allowing 107.1 points a game. And I feel like they easily have the ability to lock up the Raptors. So with that being said, I got the 76ers wrapping it up in 6 in Philadelphia. So last but not least, going back to the West, we have the 4th seeded Dallas Mavericks playing the 5th seeded Utah Jazz. And this one is also an interesting one, considering Luka Doncic just suffered a calf strain and there's no timetable for his return. And if Luka even misses a game in this series, I feel like that could really shift momentum to Utah and ultimately probably allow them to take the series. Because Luka Doncic is the heart and soul of this Dallas Mavericks team, especially the offense. Without Luka, I'm really having trouble seeing how this offense will run for the Mavericks. And not just how it will run, but will it even be able to compete with the high-powered Utah Jazz offense? And the Mavs defense is ranked number 2 in terms of points scored per game. But without the offense to go with it, I'm just having a hard time seeing them being able to match the Utah Jazz's offensive production. And if the Mavs are able to get Luka Doncic back before the start of the series or early in the series, I definitely think it gives them a great chance at winning. But I honestly feel like this could come down to who wins the rebound battle at the end of the day. Because for Utah, they got a really good rebounder in Rudy Gobert. And if the Mavs are allowing too many offensive rebounds, they could get into some serious trouble allowing too many second chance points. So for the Mavs, I think going into this, they need to have a big emphasis on boxing out and making sure they grab those boards. But during the regular season, both of these teams split their season series 2 games apiece. So honestly, if the Mavs have Luka at the start of the series, I feel like no team really has the clear edge. But for my prediction, I think this series is going to go to a game 7. I think it's going to be back and forth, contested, really close games. And I think it's going to go to a game 7, but I think the Utah Jazz are going to close it out and win 4-3. So guys, that's all the time I have for in today's video. Let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are excited as me for the NBA playoffs. I'm so excited to see who's going to make the deepest playoff run this year. And also let me know down below in the comment section, what are you guys' playoff predictions for the play-in tournament and the first round of the playoffs? So with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you guys got to do to show your support. It is greatly appreciated. It is your boy Mel wishing you a great, happy, and safe weekend, and I'm out. Peace.